Humanity had always believed in diplomacy. For decades, they had honored their agreements, upheld interstellar treaties, and worked within the Galactic Council's framework. They had been patient, understanding, even when their contributions were dismissed, their warnings ignored. But patience had limits. Ambassador Rourke stood before the council, his expression carefully controlled. The chamber was filled with representatives of a dozen species, each seated in the circular assembly hall. Some watched him with curiosity, others with open disdain. "The sanctions imposed upon Earth are unjust," Rourke said, voice steady. "We have fulfilled our obligations, contributed to galactic security, and abided by your laws. Yet time and again, our requests for fair treatment have been denied." A murmur of amusement rippled through the chamber. High Chancellor Vorka, a reptilian behemoth with golden eyes, leaned forward. "Human," he said, voice thick with condescension, "you speak of fairness. But fairness is dictated by power. Your kind was permitted into this council as a courtesy, nothing more. You serve a purpose, one that is now complete." Rourke's fingers curled into fists. "So that's it then? You take what you want and discard us." A delegate from the Tartian Dominion, a skeletal insectoid, clicked its mandibles. "Earth has resources, technology, useful things. We will manage them more efficiently than your primitive world ever could." Rourke took a slow breath. He had expected resistance, but this level of arrogance was staggering. He pulled a small data pad from his coat and tapped it. A hologram flared to life, a record of the Treaty of Andorra Prime, the agreement that had granted Earth equal standing within the Council. "This treaty," he said, voice like steel, "guaranteed our sovereignty. If you revoke it, you violate galactic law." Laughter, open, mocking laughter. Vorka waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Galactic law is what we say it is." Rourke's throat tightened. He had come here hoping, somehow, to change their minds. But these creatures had never seen humanity as equals, only as useful tools, until now. The transmission cut. Rourke stood alone in Earth's diplomatic chamber, watching the empty screen. He exhaled. There was nothing left to discuss. A soft chime sounded. "Mr. Ambassador." An aide's voice crackled over his comm. "Luna Station has gone dark. We have reports of an explosion." Rourke's blood turned to ice. Casualties? Hundreds confirmed. Thousands unaccounted for. The room blurred. He clenched his jaw. "Who fired the shot?" Silence. Then, the Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet. Everything stopped. The Council had not just revoked the treaty. They had fired the first shot. Hours later, the United Earth government convened an emergency session. The war room was filled with military officers, intelligence analysts, and world leaders. A massive screen displayed satellite footage of Luna Station, now a charred ruin orbiting the moon. President Alexander Kane stood at the center of the room. He was a man of experience. Once a soldier, now a leader who had spent his presidency striving for peace. But tonight, his face was carved from stone. "Make no mistake," he said, voice low and deliberate. "This was an act of war." No one spoke. The truth was undeniable. Kane turned to General Elias Wolf, the highest-ranking officer in Earth's military. "Can we retaliate?" Wolf's expression was grim. "Not conventionally. Their fleet outnumbers ours. Their technology is superior. If we meet them in open battle, we lose." A murmur of concern. Kane's gaze didn't waver. "And if we don't fight?" Silence. Then Admiral Vasquez spoke, voice sharp. "Then we die slowly. They will strip us of resources, occupy our colonies, and grind us into submission. Earth will be another vassal world, ruled by those who see us as nothing more than an inconvenience." The air in the room grew heavier. Kane took a slow breath. "Then the question is not whether we fight," he said. "It is how we fight." All eyes turned to General Wolf. The old soldier straightened. "We cannot match their numbers, but we don't need to. We only need to make this war too costly for them to continue. Kane nodded. What do you propose? A brief pause. Then Wolf said two words that changed everything. Total war. Within hours, the order was given. Across the Sol system, humanity mobilized. Shipyards that had lain dormant for decades roared to life. Factories shifted from commercial production to wartime manufacturing. Fleets that had once been hidden, classified black projects buried under decades of bureaucracy, were brought online. Humanity had never been the most advanced species in the galaxy, but they had always been the most adaptable. Across every colony, engineers worked tirelessly to retrofit civilian ships into war-ready vessels. Scientists repurposed mining lasers into planet-killer weaponry. Hackers infiltrated alien networks, gathering intelligence on enemy fleet movements. And in the depths of the asteroid belt, where no prying eyes could see, humanity's secret weapons were being prepared. The Galactic Council had assumed that Earth would negotiate, that they would fold under pressure. They were wrong. As the first human fleets moved into position, a single transmission was sent to the Council. President Kane, standing before the camera, his expression unreadable. You wanted our surrender, he said. You will have our answer soon enough. The transmission ended. Humanity had spoken. There would be no negotiation. The Galactic Council's arrogance was their greatest weakness. They had always viewed humanity as lesser, a minor species, too stubborn to submit but too weak to be a real threat. Their fleets were massive, their technology centuries ahead. To them, this war was not a war at all. It was a correction, a lesson to put humanity in its place. The first fleet arrived at Saturn's orbit, a formation of 50 capital ships, each one larger than anything Earth had ever built. Their commanders expected a swift operation, occupy the Sol system, disable Earth's military, and force them into compliance. It was a simple plan. Then the mines detonated. The Council's fleet had barely registered the anomaly before the rings of Saturn came alive. Orbital debris, long assumed to be natural, exploded in a chain reaction of hidden warheads and kinetic kill weapons. EMP bursts ripped through enemy ships, disabling shields, scrambling targeting systems. Then the real attack began. From Titan's shadow, human stealth cruisers emerged. Their hulls had been designed to absorb and bend light, rendering them invisible to traditional sensors. They moved like ghosts, releasing volleys of hyper-accelerated railgun rounds. Enemy capital ships, designed for open fleet engagements, not ambush warfare, were torn apart in seconds. The alien commanders barely had time to react. Their tactical protocols had prepared them for pitched battles, not surgical annihilation. They scrambled to reorganize, but their ships were blind, their systems failing. A transmission cut through the chaos. A human voice. Calm, measured, unyielding. You were warned. Then the dreadnought Vanguard opened fire. A single shot. One tungsten slug, fired at 1/3 the speed of light. It tore through the command ship's hull, ripping it in half like paper. Panic spread to the alien ranks. They tried to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. Human warships jammed their escape routes, cutting them down one by one. Less than an hour after the first detonation, the entire fleet was gone. Not a single human ship was lost. The Council had sent an armada. Humanity had erased it from existence. The message was clear. This war would not go as they expected. Word of the massacre spread to the Council at light speed. Shock, disbelief, fear. Humanity wasn't supposed to be capable of this. Their fleets were supposed to be outdated, their technology inferior. But intelligence reports painted a different picture. Earth had been preparing. They had been stockpiling weapons, designing stealth ships, creating AI-assisted battle strategies far beyond anything the Council had anticipated. The arrogance that had once filled the chamber was gone. In its place, unease. Chancellor Vorkaz sat motionless as the battle footage played on the main display. The destruction was total. Entire ships, reduced to nothing, A fleet that had stood unchallenged for a century, wiped out as if it had never existed. This, a Zelnari admiral whispered, "This isn't possible." A silence stretched across the room. Then Vorkaz spoke, his voice low and tight. "We underestimated them." No one disagreed. Another delegate shifted uncomfortably. "Should we open negotiations?" Vorkaz's claws flexed against the table. No, his voice was sharp, decisive. "We cannot show weakness. If we concede now, every species in this galaxy will see us as vulnerable. Humanity must be broken." A murmur of agreement. Retaliation was the only option. The full might of the Galactic Armada was mobilized. A force of over 500 warships set course for Earth. Their mission was simple: occupy the homeworld, dismantle its defenses, and crush any remaining resistance. They expected a battle. They were walking into a trap. Humanity had studied its enemies for decades. They knew the Council relied on overwhelming force, using sheer numbers to dominate lesser species. But numbers meant nothing if the battlefield itself was against you. As the Armada approached Earth, human fleets vanished. No formations, no opposition, just silence. It was unsettling. The alien commanders hesitated. Their sensors picked up faint distortions, phantom signals, decoys. Their long-range weapons fired into empty space, hitting nothing. Then the asteroids moved. Earth's asteroid defense grid, long assumed to be mining operations, activated. Artificial gravity wells pulled enemy ships into kill zones. Railguns, hidden inside massive asteroids, opened fire with unprecedented velocity. Ships exploded before they could react. Destroyers split apart like toys. The Council's fleet fractured. But it wasn't just the asteroids. Jupiter's great red spot pulsed. Hidden within the storm, a fleet of human warships erupted from cover, weapons locked and ready. Torpedoes laced with EMP charges. Railgun rounds lined with nanite disruptors. They had been waiting for this moment. The first volley crippled 100 ships in the blink of an eye. The second ended the battle. A Council dreadnought attempted to fire its main weapon. Before it could charge, 3 human bombers punched through its shields, deploying a quantum destabilizer. The ship folded in on itself, collapsing into a localized black hole. The surviving alien commanders panicked. Orders broke down. What had started as a full-scale invasion had turned into a massacre. Admiral Vasquez watched the carnage from the bridge of the UES Retribution. Her voice was steady as she gave the final order: leave no survivors. By the end of the battle, the Galactic Armada was gone. Not just defeated, annihilated. The Council had sent their best. It hadn't been enough. Humanity had rewritten the rules of war. The aftermath rippled across the galaxy. Fear, uncertainty. For the first time in history, the Council had no response. Humanity was supposed to be conquered. Instead, they had proven something terrifying. They were not just another species. They were something else. Something that would never be controlled, never be broken. And the war was far from over. The Council had never faced an enemy like this. Every empire they had crushed, every species they had subdued, none had fought back with such brutal efficiency. Humanity was not just resisting. They were winning, and worse, they were doing it in a way the Council didn't understand. This wasn't war as they knew it. It was systematic dismantling. They had underestimated the humans' capacity for adaptation. They had assumed Earth's forces would fight conventionally, meeting the Armada head-on. Instead, the humans had fought with precision strikes, asymmetric tactics, and an utter disregard for the rules of engagement. Entire Council fleets were disappearing without a trace. Supply lines, once thought impenetrable, were cut overnight. Communications collapsed as human AI systems infiltrated their networks, spreading false orders, feeding disinformation. The Council's logistics fell apart. Admiral Serix of the Krell Dominion sat in his war room, staring at the latest reports. 3 more fleet groups had vanished. Not destroyed, Not even engaged in battle, just gone. Every scout ship sent to investigate had been wiped from existence. The humans were striking at their core, ripping the war machine apart from the inside. A distress call from Argos Prime came in. The planetary governor's voice was frantic, broken. They're not fighting fair. They don't attack in waves. They don't give us time to regroup. We don't even know where they're coming from. The transmission cut to static. A moment later, long-range sensors confirmed it. Argos Prime was gone. A detonated starport, a cascading failure of orbital infrastructure. Millions dead before they even understood what had happened. Syrinx felt something unfamiliar creep into his bones. Fear. The humans weren't just defending themselves anymore. They were hunting. The Council was running out of options. The war had only lasted 6 months. Yet the mighty fleets that had once ruled the galaxy had been crippled. The economies of the core world strained under the pressure. Their trade routes had collapsed. Their allies had gone silent, too afraid to speak. The ruling members gathered in secret, their usual grandeur replaced by a desperate, hushed tone. The chamber was dark, no longer the proud halls of galactic rule, but a place of frantic whispers and shaking hands. "We have to end this," one of them hissed. "They are not fighting for victory. They are fighting for eradication." Vorka's golden eyes burned. "No, we do not surrender." A delegate from the Zelnari Confederacy snapped. "Surrender? Who said anything about surrender? We need to flee." Gasps. The very idea was unthinkable. The Council had stood for thousands of years. Now they were contemplating abandoning their throne. Another voice, quieter, more measured. "If we run, humanity will hunt us across the stars. There is only one way out of this." They all knew what that meant. The Extinction Protocol, a plan that had only ever been theoretical, a last resort meant for uncontrollable threats. "Deploy the Scorch Fleet," Vorka ordered, his voice cold. "If we cannot rule them, we will erase them." A hush fell over the room. Some hesitated, others nodded. The decision was made. The largest fleet ever assembled would be sent straight to Earth. Every warship, every superweapon, every planet-cracking device at their disposal. The goal was simple: burn humanity from existence. The Scorch Fleet's arrival was announced by fire. Entire human colonies, from the moons of Jupiter to the outposts of Proxima Centauri, were obliterated within hours. The Council had stopped fighting for control. They were here to exterminate. Earth's defenses held fast. The orbital fortresses around the planet's surface repelled wave after wave of bombardments. Planetary shields flickered but did not break. Humanity had known this was coming. They had prepared for it. But preparation had its limits. The Scorch Fleet pushed through. Ships descended into Earth's atmosphere, unleashing kinetic bombardments that turned cities into craters. Firestorms raged across continents. Space stations, some of which had stood for centuries, were torn from the sky. The Battle of Earth had begun. For the first time, humanity was on the defensive. Admiral Vasquez stood in Earth's command center, face unreadable as the enemy's numbers filled her screen. Thousands of ships, each one designed for a single purpose: annihilation. She turned to her officers. "Execute the final contingency." They hesitated. "Are you sure?" She didn't blink. "Yes." A silent command was sent. Across Earth, deep underground in bunkers hidden beneath layers of rock and steel, humanity's last weapons came online. The Council had no idea what was waiting for them. They thought they were ending a war. They were only beginning humanity's final lesson. The Scorch Fleet descended with fire and fury, blotting out the stars above Earth. From orbit, the planet burned in places where Council bombardments had broken through the defenses. But humanity was not broken. They had seen this coming, planned for it, and built their final trap. Deep beneath the surface, within fortified command bunkers, Earth's last contingency was unleashed. AI-controlled war drones activated across the continents, launching from hidden silos and underground facilities. Swarms of autonomous strike craft flooded the skies, moving with inhuman precision, overwhelming enemy ground forces in mere minutes. Beneath the Atlantic Ocean, subterranean railgun platforms emerged, firing hypersonic projectiles at enemy capital ships still in low orbit. Each impact sent devastating shockwaves through their hulls, shattering shields, crushing armor. Council forces, confident they had humanity cornered, suddenly found themselves in the deadliest battlefield ever conceived. The battle shifted instantly. Humanity had lured them in, let them believe they had the advantage, and now they were the ones trapped. Council command ships scrambled to adjust, but it was too late. From the ruins of fallen cities, from hidden strongholds, from facilities buried miles underground, humanity struck back. The war was no longer a contest of strength. It was a reckoning. The Council fleet had expected a planet on its knees. Instead, they had landed in a killing field. Every street, every ruined city block was a trap waiting to be sprung. Advanced targeting AIs hijacked enemy drones, turning them against their own troops. Orbital reinforcements were disintegrated before they could land, struck down by weapon platforms hidden within Earth's own infrastructure. The humans had built their civilization to survive this exact scenario. Above, in orbit, the final phase of the trap was set. Humanity's ultimate weapon, Project Revenant, came online. The AI-controlled Dark Fleet emerged from the void, warships without crews, machines built for one purpose: eradication. They had been kept hidden, waiting for the moment the enemy fully committed to their attack. Now, they moved with cold, ruthless precision, carving through the Council's warships like a scalpel through flesh. Mass drivers, energy lances, quantum destabilizers, every experimental weapon humanity had ever developed was deployed without restraint. A Council dreadnought, once thought indestructible, was bisected in a single strike. Another vanished into a localized singularity, consumed by its own failing warp core. Panic spread through the Council ranks. They had never lost like this. They had never faced an enemy willing to burn everything to ensure victory. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. Now, they were making sure no one would ever underestimate them again. The fleet broke. Ships tried to flee. It didn't matter. Humanity had locked down the system, cutting off all escape routes. No survivors. No mercy. One by one, Council warships fell into silence. The Scorch Fleet, the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen, was reduced to wreckage drifting in space. The war was over, but humanity was not done. The Council had shown no mercy, had sought to wipe Earth from existence. Now, they would learn the price of their arrogance. A message was sent to every major power in the galaxy. One sentence, broadcast in every language. The Galactic Council pushed too far. Now humanity refuses to negotiate. And then humanity's fleets began their march. World after world, system after system. Every stronghold of the Council was systematically erased. Their leadership tried to hide, to bargain, to beg. It didn't matter. Their time was over. In the end, there was no surrender, no peace. Only the cold, unrelenting justice of a species that had been forced to show its true nature. Humanity was not conquered. Humanity was not broken. Humanity had become the storm. And the galaxy would never forget.